episode 159. I believe achieving success in the outdoor biz is dependent upon embracing the outdoor lifestyle and learning from outdoor leaders that came before you. If you agree, then listen up for tips, advice, and hacks about growing or starting your career in the outdoor biz. My name is Rick Sayes. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Super fun conversation with Greg Thomsen of Agron today. We talk about his outdoor experience, winding down the Adidas Outdoor US business, and more. But first, if you're thinking about starting your own podcast for your brand or passion project, I've created a free cheat sheet outlining 6 fundamental steps for building and starting your podcast. It has everything you need to know about planning, building, and launching. Head over to ricksayes.com and download this free resource today. Let's get into this fun conversation with Greg Thomsen of Agron. He tells us how he and his family took a year off to travel, convincing Phil Knight at Nike they needed technical socks, and more. Enjoy. Hey, Greg, welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Great to catch up with you tonight. Is the weather good down there? It's hot up. It's starting to get hot up here in Bishop.
Actually, it's always pretty nice down here in Malibu. I mean, we're near the ocean, and so it's always moderate. You never have to worry about a jacket. And I kind of miss the idea of having to get dressed up to go outside.
You got the big air conditioner over there for the summertime too. The beautiful ocean. That's great.
We just opened the windows.
Nice. Yeah, we don't have that here in the summertime. It's starting to get warm up, but we'll take it. We have other things that are nice. The mountains.
Absolutely.
So tell us about your first exposure to the outdoors. How did you get the outdoor bug?
You know, I think my father was a bit of an outdoorsman who really liked to hike, fish, and camp. So my brother and I spent most of our summers growing up just doing that. You know, we would generally spend weeks at a time up in Mammoth camping and hiking and fishing around the Mammoth Lakes area. And then I think when I was 13, I did my first free solo climb of a little crag called Crystal Crag, which is above Mammoth Lakes, with my brother. And it was not very difficult, probably low 5th class or even 4th class, but it was really exposed, and I got kind of excited about it. And over the next few years, by the time I was 15, I was doing multi-pitch climbs in Yosemite.
Wow. And
really interested in the outdoor world and also in outdoor equipment.
And did you what was your first outdoor job?
So my first real job, I'm sure there was some smaller ones, but my first real job was I'd gone on a long mountaineering trip around the world, and I came back in 1971, and my brother was managing a retail store chain in Tarzana and Thousand Oaks, and he asked me if I wanted to be co-manager with him and take over one of the stores. So I was co-manager of the mountain store with him. Okay. And we sold specialty outdoor products all the way from backpacking gear up into ski boots and bindings. And at the same time, his wife was starting Wilderness Experience, and I became a guide for the guide service.
Gotcha. And that was the A16 store in the Valley, right, that just closed recently?
It eventually became A16 years later.
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of history in that store.
Yeah, it was a great place. I even lived in the front window for a while.
Oh,
in one of the display tents.
What was that like?
It was great. Well, one, it was free.
Yeah. And
2, we had, freeze-dried food that I could cook up at night if I wanted. And so it was pretty low-cost living.
That's good. That's good. You had a van, you did the van life before there were vans. Well, there were vans.
Yeah, plus I couldn't be late. I was never late for work.
That's right. There you go. That's right. That's awesome. So you've held a variety of roles in some great outdoor companies. Which was the most fun? Company or role?
Wow, that's a tough question. You know, I've had fun and not fun moments pretty much all over, but overall, the most fun I had was building Wilderness Experience as a brand and combining it with the kicker of being the first company to go public. Kind of gave us the reward that was really amazing for the experience. And you know, it was just a combination of total freedom, unlimited creativity, great timing, and then it's built a lot of amazing friends that I've kept for the rest of my life to today.
Yeah,
And,
that was pretty unique. I was getting my rec degree at Cal Poly Pomona, and we took our dean of the department or something was from that area where you guys were building Wildy, and we got to do a field trip out there to see the factory. That was pretty fun. Long time ago.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience to go from zero to such a elaborate factory, state of the art production in the U.S.
Yeah, you guys were doing some good things early on, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Where was it that you learned the most about business? Was it there when you go in public and all that?
I mean, certainly wilderness and growing that, I learned a lot. But I must say, I think I learned the most about actual overall business with that Nike. And it was my first real introduction to product marketing and global sales and distribution, which I had not really experienced at Wilderness.
Gotcha.
And seeing the machine of how you can create products and add to a product with marketing was eye-opening, and I've never forgotten it.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to sneak in a question here that Jim asked me to ask, since you brought up Nike. He wanted to know, or he wants you to talk about when you tried to convince Phil Knight that Nike needed socks. What was that like?
Yeah, well, they had socks, but they didn't have technical socks. So I had spent a little time working with a company called Thorlo, which was early on in the making of kind of specialized socks for different activities. So I created a whole series of socks for Nike that had padding in different areas, added padding in the footbeds or in over the, under the laces and around the ankles and different things for wicking. And I went into a semi-board meeting with Phil Knight and Tom Clark, Mark Parker, and a couple others. And I started off by saying, first off, everybody needs socks. And Phil, who was wearing a suit, moved back in his chair, put his feet up on the table, and showed me that he wasn't wearing socks. And then Tom Clark showed me he wasn't wearing socks either. And Mark Parker, who was in charge of design at the time, said, "We design our shoes where you don't need socks." I was like,
whoops.
Okay, well, maybe this isn't such a great idea. But it turned into about $100 million business for him eventually.
Wow, nice job. Well, those were good socks. I had some of those socks, yeah. Were any of your experiences more challenging than others in the business world? I'm sure, at times some were challenging, but overall?
A lot of them have been challenging. The hardest challenge I've had is dealing with politics within larger companies and how to navigate through the politics to get things done. And that's a big problem, I think, for bigger companies, in that smaller companies are more nimble and fast and creative, and bigger ones you have to create like giant, freight liners that move straight but with a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
But they're not fun to drive. I would say.
That must be challenging. I've had my own challenges with office politics, but I can't imagine big. I don't think I've worked for anything really huge, so it's got to be really challenging.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of individuals who are trying to make a career or maybe even a short-time career whose focus is only on how they could attain more, prestige and image and advancement. And it loses the entrepreneurial teamwork that's really what makes business fun for me.
So how did you learn about navigating that? Trial and error.
How you learn. Yeah, it's like getting beat up a number of times. You eventually learn to duck, I guess. It is not easy to learn, and it's not in my nature. And so I've generally found I'm not good for big companies.
Interesting.
I don't tend to do well when there's a lot of layers of corporate,
Yeah, right. Yeah, like
programs.
VF or some of these big
Yeah,
big brands. Big companies that own a bunch of brands now. That's probably the similar situation.
but
And
but I must say I have a lot of respect for how big brands move forward, even when there's turmoil within the ranks.
mm-hmm.
So again, it gets back to that momentum of a giant brand. It just moves in a direction, and it's very slow to mess it up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very slow to improve it.
Yeah,
Everything is slowed down.
Yeah,
Whereas
driving
in
an
a small
aircraft carrier.
company, everything is speeded up. You can mess up faster, but you can improve faster.
That's true. And you've been managing Adidas now for quite a while, the U.S. operation. Tell listeners about that. That's a pretty large global company.
Yeah, so Adidas has been really fun, and it's a kind of an interesting story how it came about. And in 2008, I had started the company back in 1990, and my wife and I worked together. 2008, we decided we should sell everything we own today. And we woke up in the morning and we started selling everything that day. We sold our ownership in the companies that we owned. And we sold off our brands. We rented our house out for 2 years. We sold our cars. We gave away all our clothing.
Wow.
We packed up a Eagle Creek compliments of Steve Barker roller bag each, and my daughter, who was 11 at the time. And we left the country for a year with the idea of just traveling like a nomadic life, town to town, where we had to live in a town and cook our own food was kind of our plan. And then that was fabulous.
That'd
and when
be a blast,
we came home, I thought nothing was going to ever happen again. And Adidas called out of the blue and said, we want to start from scratch distribution of outdoor products in the United States.
Wow.
So that was quite a project. I combined it with a company called Agron that was the Adidas licensee for the United States. And then I just started from get a desk, get a chair, get a phone, get a computer,
the basics.
Arrange a team, hire a sales manager, happened to be Larry Harrison, get an operations manager up to speed, get customer service, get warehousing, shipping, accounting, credit, forecasting, purchasing, and then build a booth and go to the trade shows and start selling the product, and then repeat that each year. That's kind of what I've been doing for the last 9 years.
Wow, that's impressive. And did you have to design product specifically for the U.S., or could you just take product that they already had and make changes to it?
Yeah, this was one of the first times that I had very little input into the product.
Okay.
I could edit product and I could request different colors, but I couldn't really get involved in the actual design of the product. So what we would do is we would range 90% of what they sold in Europe and bring that to the U.S. and then year after year try and, convince the designers that they needed to become more American-oriented.
Yeah. I went through that at Montbell when we brought Montbell to the U.S. Same concept,
Oh, yeah.
Have to tweak stuff.
I mean, it's really, it shocks me because if someone said to me, or I'm sure if they went to you and said, design a line for Japan or design a line for Europe, but you'd never been there. I mean, you'd never really worked there. You would go, I can't do that. I don't even have the slightest idea what, the U.S. market wants if I'm in Germany or what Japan wants. But if you have a high level of ego, you just say, oh, well, it's a world market and everybody wants what I like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's not customer oriented at all. Yeah. And there's no consumer validation.
That's interesting. It's pretty challenging. It tough. Yeah. Were they receptive to the changes initially, or was that a little bit of a battle?
It's been an ongoing battle every season for the past 18.
Yeah, been there. Yeah.
I think, over time it slowly changes, but it's never fully embraced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They always think that they know the best and the market will change. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So you guys are going through quite a big change now. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I would say that the big initiative right now is for me to organize the transition of the business back to Adidas, and they're located in Portland.
Wow.
So originally it was a distribution agreement that had a, no length to it, but a 2-year termination clause.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the beginning of this year, they gave us the notice that they would take it back and run it out of Adidas Portland. So the big change is the next 18 months worth of transition of all of the different components of the business. So we've given back to transferred back advertising and management of events and management of athletes and trade shows.
Wow.
Things like that, which are more brand building oriented,
mm-hmm.
and we will focus more on just the sales side of it
mm-hmm.
until we can transfer everything back. And at the end of 2020, we will be out of that business completely.
Wow, that's amazing. That's got to be a little bit challenging as well, in a different way than building the thing, right?
Yeah, I mean it's rewarding in a way that I can look back and say we've had 18 seasons of consistent 25% plus growth every year,
mm-hmm.
92% growth last year. So a really strong growth rate, and in an environment that's not easy to do.
Exactly.
A number of my friends in the other companies, from North Face and, Patagonia, different ones said, no way.
How are you doing that? What are you doing?
Yeah, they would say, you cannot make Adidas an outdoor brand. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
But we were pretty good at making it part of the outdoor community and bringing a lot to the table that made it valuable in a way and continued to grow it. So
yeah, you did a great job.
I feel good about what we've done, and I'm ready to be handing it off to someone else.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that.
It's always good to hand it off at the high point.
In good shape. Exactly. Yeah, sure. Here you go. It's all polished and shiny. Go knock it out of the park. That's great. What was the best decision you've ever made?
Clearly the best decision I ever made was in 2008 when we decided to just completely drop out and sell everything, because it was a very difficult decision to make.
That's a big decision.
Kind of the height of our own business. We were doing well. Everything looked good. There was no reason to do it. We just thought if we kept doing this, we would just keep doing it forever. And this was a dream that we thought would be great, to just take off at least a year and travel around with our kids and show them the world that we've seen and let them live in each city and kind of experience and become more citizens of the world. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to do that, but it meant giving up a lot and taking a giant risk.
Yeah. And it turned out pretty well. I mean,
yeah, clearly when my wife and I look back, it's the best year of our lives.
Interesting. And the kids, I'm sure they remember it fondly as well, right? Maybe not at the time, but they do now.
At the time it was tough. Like our younger one said, she's living in a room with their parents for a year.
My life is over. Yeah.
But I think it's actually defined a lot about who they are, and it certainly gives them a bigger perspective on the world, having lived in these areas that most people don't really experience.
Well, don't get to see, let alone live there. Yeah, it's a whole different experience.
Don't get to see. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I highly recommend it, but it is really a hard decision.
So the decision was hard, but once you got into it, did the actual execution of it get simpler over the year?
Yeah, I would say the decision was scary, but once we made the decision, then it was really easy and extremely fun and easy. So once you kind of give up the idea of being somebody, get your ego out of the way, don't worry about stuff as much, and then just go, it's like a giant weight taken off your shoulder and you feel totally free.
Yeah, and I can imagine.
It's really valuable.
Yeah, and I'll bet a lot of the things that you and the kids thought would happen, your imagination goes wild, but then when you actually get out there and start living it, hardly any of that stuff ever happens.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And one outcome of it is our daughter, Claire, wrote a book called Girl Disrupted about being pulled out of school, out of Malibu, out of a cushy life to go out and live a nomadic lifestyle, and what it meant to her and how it changed her dramatically, and what she did with that experience a couple of years after we got back.
That's awesome. Is that available on Amazon? Can we link to that on the show?
Yeah,
notes?
it's on.
Oh, cool.
It's on Amazon, and it's Girl Disrupted by Claire Thompson.
Girl Disrupted, awesome. We'll link to that in the show notes. That's great.
Yeah. She also has a really fun TED Talk. So if you Google, the TED Talks with Claire Thompson and Girl Disrupted or Bhutan, then you get her whole story.
Cool. We'll link to that too. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that's terrific. I have to get her on the show. Maybe she can tell the story.
Yeah, she would have probably a different angle to
it. Yeah, I'm sure. So, who were some of the people that have inspired you over the years?
So, there's been so many, but there's probably a few that really stand out, and some that I really don't even know. Maybe top of the list is Doug Tompkins, who was the founder of North Face. I met Doug a couple times and talked to him a couple times, but he didn't know who I was, and I just, semi-idolized what he had done because he created North Face, then sold it, then went climbing, and then created a spree and built up the spree, then sold it, and then started, buying land in Argentina and Chile. She turned into national park.
Right.
It's just like an amazing, amazing story. So I think I look at Doug when I try and think about what is it like to be fearless. He was a fearless individual.
Yeah, yeah.
And then my other kind of inspiration comes from Yvonn Chouinard, and I've known Chouinard for a long time, but beyond that, I actually created an image of what he would do in certain circumstances and what he would like in products. So I taught myself to do like dream meditation where you control your own dreams. And in the old days, I would give presentations to Yvonne on a new product. And in my dream, I would hear him say, well, that's shit, or that needs to be changed, or why did you do that? Or there's too much stuff, take stuff off, make it more simple. And I would listen to that advice, even though I never talked to him about it.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's pretty cool.
And probably the third most influential was Bill Simon, who started Snow Lion and then went on to start a company called Odyssey, which was the first real big trading company in Asia.
Yep.
He really taught me a lot about manufacturing in Asia, and then went on to buy Converse and then eventually sell Converse to Nike. Just an amazing guy. And I find myself even today, in situations where I say to myself, what would Bill Simon do? And I kind of think about how clever and how fast and how fearless he would be. And I try to emulate it, even though I can't even come within 10% of his ability. So those three guys are clearly my heroes in the outdoor. But, not to mention people like Reinhold Messner, who is my all-time hero, but from a climbing standpoint.
Right. Well, yeah, those three guys did some amazing things in the industry. I mean, talk about pioneers in the business for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. They're good inspirations.
Yep.
Everybody should have them as inspiration.
Yep. I agree. Yep. Let's flip that around a little bit. What have been some of your most heartbreaking experiences?
I think probably the most heartbreaking hit home is that you get involved in the high altitude mountaineering and alpine climbers. You have athletes and you become close friends. You have friends who are climbers. And then you get the phone call that they've been swept away in an avalanche or something has happened and they're gone. And so the heartbreak for me has been losing really close friends in the mountains, and including my brother's wife who died on a climbing trip with me. Those kind of memories never go away. And I kind of see them, if not every day, at least every week. Their vision pops up somewhere during the day or at night.
Yeah.
I've never lost touch with the people I've lost, and that's been the heartbreaking side. Everything else has been, easy.
Yeah. No, you're right. That is
compared
tough.
to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that a lot of us do in various places in the mountains and rivers, and it happens, but you just never get used to it when you do get the call. It's like a gut punch. I mean, it just takes the breath away.
Yeah, and it's never easy, and it's always shocking.
Yeah,
when it happens.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the nonprofits you work with yourself, or down there at Adidas. You guys must work with some nonprofits as well, I'm sure.
Well, from a company, we support a number of them. From Access Fund and different groups. I personally am pretty involved with the American Alpine Club. I'm on the board of directors, and I'm kind of focused on helping bring younger gym climbers into the outdoors and how they get mentored and how they learn about the proper etiquette for going outdoors, where they don't really have people showing them how to do it anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And, I think that area I can spend a lot of time doing, and I'm trying to help do fundraising for the American Alpine Club and also for gyms to help promote that transition from indoor to outdoor.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's all focused on the next generation of outdoor athletes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we need a lot of education. I think we see that here in the Eastern Sierra quite a bit. You see people on their first backpacking trip, and Alan Petrosano and I talk all the time. We'll be walking down the trail, and you go around the corner, and there's a group of 2 or 3 people. Their stuff is spread out all over the trail. And it's like, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're having lunch. It's just like, really? You had to take everything out of your pack to have lunch? Let me show you a more efficient way to do that. So there's a lot of opportunity to educate folks so they have more fun in the outdoors. Yeah,
and there's a lack of mentors for that. And I think that's probably one of the areas that we could help a lot in, is figuring out how to get people who understand and have the sensibilities and want to transfer that knowledge to a next generation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit again. So tell us about the time you dropped out of college at 17 to go climb Mount Everest with no money.
Yeah, that was... so I had been a climber since I was maybe 13, and I was a gymnast in high school, so I got to be a pretty good rock climber and had done quite a bit, and just sort of fell in with a group of climbers, and some of my friends became quite famous as derelict climbers. Chongo in Yosemite was my first climbing partner.
Okay.
We climbed together. We were also in gymnastics together, so we were one of the first people to use chalk when we went bouldering, because we brought it right from the gymnastics class. But when my brother had gone to UCLA, and he said, you should join the UCLA Mountaineers if you go there. And so I went to check out the UCLA Mountaineers when I was applying at UCLA. And because I had heard you should have a really good college experience by being fully immersed in all activities. And so I I met the president of the Mountaineering Association of UCLA, and he said, "Well, I've been at UCLA for 8 years. You can always go to UCLA, but you can only go to Everest right now. Why don't we pack up and go to Everest and try to climb Everest?"
Wow.
So I said, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." So instead of going to UCLA, I packed up my bags and we left, and we hitchhiked across the United States to New Jersey. We took Icelandic Airlines to Iceland and then to Belgium, and we bought an old Toyota Corolla station wagon. And then we drove that Toyota Corolla station wagon from Belgium to Nepal.
Wow, what an adventure.
A long ways.
Oh, my God.
And then we hiked back in to Everest and tried to make our way up through the ice fall and to see how high we could get on Everest, which was not very high. But at the time, there was nobody, when we were there was nobody else in the Khumbu region.
Wow.
Only locals who lived there. There was no climbers.
Right.
There was no trekking.
Right.
And there was no climbers camp.
No fixed lines, no ladders, no nothing. Yeah, yeah.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
There was
Wow.
nothing.
Right.
And our equipment was, wool knickers and boots we had made for us in India and crummy ropes and bad A-frame tents. It was really lucky we survived and were able to fight our way out.
Wow.
And then I spent about 6 months, because I ran out of money there, 6 months working my way home, doing odd jobs to earn airfare back to the United States.
Geez, that's 2 adventures in one right there.
It was
Maybe
it was
more.
It was a long trip, and
Wow.
it was pretty amazing to come back, and then fortunately fall right into the outdoor business with my brother. And then I was set for life.
Did you go back to UCLA?
No, I never went back. I went back to Valley College and took a few classes, and then I went to Northridge, took a couple classes. But by then we had started Wilderness Experience, and I was starting to make, more money than I could make working.
Right.
And I was thinking, like, well, wait, I could probably focus on this for a while.
Yeah, I could do this and not go back.
So
Yeah,
I never went back.
yeah.
I also do not regret it at all.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds like another good decision in your life. Yeah. What outdoor activities do you participate in? Do you still climb?
I climb a little bit. I'm starting to do a little bouldering, and my friend John Long, who had a really bad climbing accident a few years ago, broke his ankle really bad.
Yeah.
Is now feeling better and doing some climbing, and so now we're talking about doing a few roped climbs and just having fun, but more of it's just bouldering and easy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do a lot of hiking, certainly in the local mountains and in the Sierra. That's kind of my passion. I just like it a lot.
Cool.
I like moving.
Yeah.
And then I just started skiing again this last year. I took a 35-year break, and now I went back to skiing. I realized people are skiing on short skis, and they're wearing these crazy helmets and all this stuff. It's like a whole other world.
Yeah, the equipment
There's no
changed a
lines,
bit. Yeah.
and, it's really great.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you get up here to Mammoth to ski with?
Yeah, I was just up there a couple weeks ago with my brother, who's an excellent telemarker, and his wife, who's an amazing skier, and she decided to give us like the basic elementary school lessons, and I really loved it.
Awesome, that's cool. Well, we had some great snow, as you know, this year, so I'm glad you're getting a piece of it.
Yeah, we're we've got my wife and I got skis and boots and everything again, and now we're getting our Icon passes, and
there you go.
We're ready to come back up any weekend now.
Yeah, well, now the spring skiing, so it's going to get really good here in the backcountry too. If you get backcountry at all,
I love it.
Yeah, come on up.
Yep.
Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into the outdoor biz, or if they're already in, grow their career?
I think my perspective on it is that if you're going to do anything in business, like if you want to be an accountant or you want to be in supply chain or almost any aspect of regular business, might check out the outdoor business, because I think it would be better to be an accountant in an outdoor company than it would be to be an accountant in a machine shop company or some other area.
I would agree with that.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. And then if you like the product and if you like the outdoors, I really don't think there's any place better. I don't think there's a better community of people, and it's a kind and competitive, but a really great group of people. So I would say jump in at whatever level you could jump in. Just like starting a long track, you've got to take the first step and then just keep moving forward and enjoy it and try your best to be the best at what you do and enjoy doing it, because that joy is what propels you forward.
That's great advice. I think as the outdoor industry gets more sophisticated as we grow, we have somebody came on the show a few episodes ago talking about how we have this need now for people that are, have the analytics and some of the tasks and job roles that are more conducive to traditional jobs. But as we, grow and do more sophisticated things, we need those people in the outdoor industry, because those of us that grew up in the outdoor industry sure don't know it. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, coming. Yeah, that's good advice.
Exactly. I totally agree. And I think people, certainly a younger generation who has a really good understanding of social media and how to work online, and that's lacking in the outdoor industry. So they can bring a whole new dimension of how to manage websites and how to, manage influencers and everything that's going to be the future. It's open right now. And it's an open area because the people who were there before don't have that background.
Yeah, we didn't grow up with that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's good. Good advice. Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? Meditate? Sounds like you get a lot of exercise, walk the dog, that kind of thing.
I kind of touched on it. I learned this concept of dream meditation.
Yeah, you mentioned
basically that. Meditation where you manage your own dream, where you're semi-awake during your dream, and so you can manage the outcome or the direction. So I try and practice that every night. It's really, really hard.
I can imagine. It's got to be really hard, yeah. How did you get into that? How did you learn about that?
I read a book on it, and it was talking about different levels of Tibetan meditation, and one of them was this chapter on dream meditation. And it just kind of captured me with the idea, you could increase the amount of work you do by 8 hours or so if you could manage your sleep to be actually creating something. So
interesting.
I've been doing that for 40 years.
Wow. So you've gotten pretty good at it then.
I've gotten pretty good at it. And a lot of it, like I said, was if I had a specific idea I wanted to try, I would try and incorporate that into my dream and include people in the dream that were the people who inspired me, that I wanted to be my biggest critics.
Interesting.
And after a while, I have some pretty good dreams.
Yeah, I'll bet. I can imagine. Yeah. I'm going to have to look for a book and check that out.
But I think my daily routine is now, I get up pretty early, and the first thing I do is I make my wife coffee, and I bring her coffee and bread every morning.
Nice. That's great.
That kind of makes the day go easier.
That's good for both of you, though. That's great.
Then I listen to books on tape in my drive-in, because I have about an hour to an hour and 15-minute drive from Malibu into Santa Monica each morning and back. So I have a routine of listening to biographies and autobiographies and things that are kind of fun, but I may not want to read because they're too long. So I can dive into them heavily. Yeah. And then any extra minute I have, I play guitar.
Oh, cool. That's fun. That's a good hobby. Yeah, awesome. Do you have any favorite books or books you give as gifts?
So, right now, the book I give is a book called The Climbers by Jim Harrington.
Okay.
And it's really a black and white photo collection of all of the original, a lot of the original climbers. And it's done with such style and taste. And then the writing behind it, the stories of each photo are really fascinating. So that's the book I tend to give to every climber I meet.
Got you. All right, we'll link to that.
It to all the athletes, and because I think it's important to understand history. And then the other book that I probably would, if I was going to be on a desert island and I could only bring one book, it would be Bill Bryson's History of Just About Everything, because I think I've read it 5 times, and fortunately, with a really old mind, I feel like I'm reading it for the first time each time, so I never get tired of it.
Yeah, he's such a great writer too. That's awesome.
he's the best.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
You know, that's a good question. I think it might be my jet boil stove.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's a great piece of equipment. It works great. I don't know. I would have to take it on every trip I went on, so it's essential.
Yeah.
And it works. It's perfect. It does a perfect job for what it's designed to do. So
good.
That'd be my number one.
That's a good one. All right, well, we'll link to that too. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to ask of our listeners or say to our listeners?
You know, I just think it's an interesting time in the world today, and I think all of us in the outdoor industry and people who love the outdoors have to stand up, have to resist changes that take away our rights to go to public lands, have to fight for free access, have to stand up and actually take a stance.
Yep.
And it's more important than ever to make your voice known and not cower from it.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, don't hold back. Yeah. And if people want to follow up with you, what's the best way? LinkedIn or Facebook?
So I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook under Greg Thomsen, and it's spelled funny. It's Thomsen. My email address is gthomsen, GTHOMSEN at Agron, AGRON.com.
Okay.
And that will be my email for the next 18 months.
Right. Well, we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes so people can follow up. That's great. Well, it's been a blast catching up with you. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, super. And I look forward to hanging out with you in Bishop one of these days.
Come on up. Yeah, it's, like I said, we're getting into the springtime and the good backcountry skiing, and we'll be hiking before you know it. So we'll have to get on a trip this summer.
And we were up in the buttermilk a few months ago, and it was amazing. So I'll meet you in the buttermilk.
Perfect. That's right up the street. I'll love to do it.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, Greg. I'll see you at OR if I don't see you before.
Thanks, Rick. We'll see you in Denver.
All right. Sounds good. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to the outdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.